Her father stopped me before I made it 10 feet into the wedding hall. "Ryan," Thomas Whitmore said, like my name had dirt on it. "You were not invited." I held up the cream-colored envelope his daughter had mailed to my apartment herself. It had my name written in her handwriting, the same small, careful handwriting I had known since 5th grade. Chloe invited me. Her mother, Evelyn, moved beside him with that polished smile rich people use when they want to slap you without touching you. "Chloe is under a great deal of emotional pressure today," she said. "She does not need old distractions." "Old distraction," I repeated. "That's sweet. Is that what we're calling childhood friends now?" Thomas stepped closer. He was in a tuxedo that probably cost more than my truck. "You were told years ago to keep your distance from our daughter." "And she was told years ago who she was allowed to speak to," I answered. "Funny thing, though, she's 24. His jaw moved once. Evelyn glanced toward the guests already filling the hall. "This is not the place." "I agree. So don't make it one." Thomas looked at me as if he was deciding whether security would be worth the scene. "You will sit quietly," he said. "You will not approach her. You will not embarrass this family." I slipped the invitation back into my jacket pocket. "I came to support Chloe, not your family." For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Evelyn touched Thomas's sleeve. "Leave him. It's almost done." That line stayed with me. It's almost done. If I'd known where that wedding was headed, I might have laughed right there in the aisle. Instead, I walked to the back row and sat down like a man attending his own sentencing. Chloe had always said her parents could turn a room cold without touching the thermostat. She was right. The place looked expensive, controlled, and lifeless. White flowers. String quartet. Cameras. People whispering behind practiced smiles. The Whitmores had not planned a wedding. They had planned a merger with cake. I was a junior architect making rent in a one-bedroom apartment outside Columbus. The groom, Preston Hall, came from a family whose company could rescue Thomas Whitmore's failing development firm. Everybody knew it. Nobody said it. Except Chloe, once. 2 months before the wedding, she had called me from a blocked number. "I'm doing it," she said. I was sitting at my drafting table, staring at a floor plan I could not focus on. "Doing what?" "Marrying Preston." I waited for the punchline. Chloe used to make jokes when she was scared. There wasn't one. "Do you love him?" She was quiet long enough for me to know the answer. "Ryan." "That's not an answer." "No." I closed my eyes. "Then don't. You say that like I can just walk out of this house with a backpack and a dramatic soundtrack. I've got a truck. The soundtrack is optional." She laughed once, but it broke in the middle. "My father's company is tied up in this. My mother says I owe them. They paid for school, the apartment, everything. If I refuse, they'll lose investors. People will blame me. People already blame women for traffic and bad coffee. That doesn't make them right. Don't make me laugh right now. I'm serious." "I know," she whispered. "That's the problem." I wanted to say the words I had swallowed for years. "I love you. I bought a ring. I've had it hidden in a box under tax forms because apparently I'm both romantic and deeply boring." But I looked around my small apartment. At the second-hand desk, the unpaid student loan statement, the radiator that made a clicking sound at night. And I thought of the Whitmore house, their money, their lawyers, their social circle, their ability to crush people without raising their voices. "So," I said, "I'll be there if you need me." She answered, "I always need you." Then she hung up. That was the coward's version of a confession. I knew it then. I hated myself for it. Now I sat in the back of that wedding hall, with a ring in my jacket pocket, not because I had a plan, but because leaving it at home felt like lying to myself. The ceremony started exactly on time. Preston stood at the altar looking pale and irritated, like a man waiting for bad news from a doctor. He was handsome in the clean, expensive way that never had to work for anything. He kept adjusting his cuff, then looking toward the side door. A man beside me whispered to his wife, "He looks nervous." I almost said, "No, he looks awake for the first time." I kept my mouth shut, then Chloe appeared. I had seen her in ripped jeans at 14, crying because she failed her driving test. I had seen her at 19, sitting on the curb outside a diner after her mother called her useless for changing majors. I had seen her half asleep on video calls, hair pulled back, eating cereal straight from the box, pretending she was fine. That day she looked beautiful, but that was not what hit me. She looked trapped. Her father walked her down the aisle with his hand tucked over hers like he was delivering property. Chloe's face was calm in the way people look calm when they have run out of places to put fear. Then her eyes found me in the back row. Not for long. 1 second. Enough. Her mouth trembled and she looked away. I leaned forward without meaning to. The priest began. I heard words but not sentences. Marriage. Covenant. Commitment. Family. All the respectable language people use to dress up a deal nobody wants to admit is a deal. When the priest asked Preston to repeat his vows, Preston stared at Chloe. She did not look at him. She looked at the floor. Preston, the priest prompted softly. Preston swallowed. His father, sitting in the front row, gave him a sharp look. Preston took a small step back. I can't do this. At first, nobody reacted because the room didn't understand what had been said. The priest blinked. Excuse me? Preston's voice came louder. I said I can't do this. Chloe lifted her head. Thomas stood halfway from his chair. Preston. No. Preston pulled at his tie. No, I'm done pretending this is noble. I barely know her. She doesn't love me. I don't love her. We're all standing here because your companies need each other, and our parents decided a marriage certificate was cheaper than honesty. A woman gasped. His mother whispered, "Press stop." He shook his head. I'm not ruining my life so two boards can shake hands at Christmas. Thomas moved toward the aisle. You need to calm down. I am calm, Preston said. That's the first useful thing I've been all week. He turned to Chloe. For once he sounded human. I'm sorry, not for leaving. For waiting this long. Chloe stared at him, stunned. Then Preston walked down the steps past his parents, past Thomas, past rows of frozen guests. Nobody stopped him. Maybe nobody believed a man could simply walk away from that much money. He passed my row, eyes flicking to me for half a second. Good luck, he muttered. Yeah, I said, you too. He left through the side doors. The hall broke open. People stood. Phones came out. Evelyn moved fast, whispering to a planner. Thomas grabbed the priest's arm. Chloe remained at the altar, alone, holding a bouquet she no longer seemed to feel in her hands. I don't remember deciding to stand. I just did. My feet carried me down the aisle before my brain had permission to object. I heard someone say my name. Maybe Thomas. Maybe one of Chloe's cousins. It didn't matter. Chloe saw me coming. Her lips parted. Ryan? I stopped in front of her. The priest looked terrified. Chloe, I said, and my voice sounded steadier than I felt. I should have done this before today. I should have done it years ago. Her eyes filled. Behind me, Thomas barked, "Sit down." I ignored him. I reached into my jacket and took out the ring box. Chloe covered her mouth. The room went quiet in that strange way rooms do when everybody realizes the disaster has found a second act. I got down on one knee. Chloe Whitmore, I said, I'm not rich. I don't have a family company. I've got a rented apartment, a used truck, and a coffee maker that works when it feels respected. A shaky laugh moved through the room. Chloe laughed too, through tears. But I love you. I have loved you since before I knew what to do with the word. I won't promise you easy. I won't promise you fancy. I can promise you honest. I can promise you that no one gets to buy your life if you choose to build one with me. Evelyn whispered sharply. This is insane. I kept my eyes on Chloe. So I'm asking once, in front of everyone, because hiding has done nothing good for either of us. Will you marry me? For 1 second, she just stared. Then she dropped the bouquet. Yes, it came out loud enough to hit the back wall. Yes, Ryan. Yes. I stood, and she threw her arms around me. People shouted. Some clapped because people clap when they don't know what else to do. Thomas looked like his blood pressure had filed for divorce. The priest took a step back. This is irregular, I looked at him. That's one word for it. Chloe turned to him, still holding my hand. Father, please. The priest looked at Thomas. Thomas looked at the cameras near the aisle. The wedding videographer had not stopped recording. A few guests still had their phones up. Evelyn saw it too. Her expression changed. She was calculating the scandal in real time. Thomas leaned close to the priest and spoke through his teeth. "Proceed." The priest hesitated. Chloe tightened her hand around mine. I asked her quietly, "Are you sure?" She looked at me like I had asked whether water was wet. I have never been more sure of anything. The vows were short because no one in that room had the emotional range for long ones. My voice caught once, hers caught twice. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Chloe kissed me first. It wasn't delicate, it wasn't staged. It was relief, years late and finally allowed. For 3 seconds there was no family, no money, no consequences. Then Thomas said, "Private room. Now." "Congratulations to us too," I said. "Very warm." Chloe gave a tiny laugh against my shoulder. "Don't start." "Oh, I started years ago." I'm pacing myself. We were led through a side hallway into a small sitting room used for bridal parties and private meltdowns. Evelyn shut the door behind us before anyone else could follow. Thomas turned on me first. "This farce ends tomorrow." I slipped the ring fully onto Chloe's finger. My hand was steady now. "No," he stared. "You don't get to say no." I just did. "Want me to use smaller words?" Chloe whispered, but she wasn't warning me. She was holding on to my sleeve like she needed to know I was real. Evelyn pointed at her. "You are in shock. You have embarrassed yourself enough for one day." Chloe's face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. I said yes. "You were humiliated at the altar," Evelyn snapped. "Then this boy exploited the moment." "This boy?" I looked at Chloe. I'm 24, married, and apparently a criminal mastermind with a rented suit. Thomas moved closer. "You think this makes you a husband? You think a cheap ring and a public stunt make you capable of protecting her?" "No," I said. "My choices do. Your choices?" He laughed without humor. "You make junior drafts at an architecture firm. You live in an apartment with neighbors on both sides. You cannot provide her life. I can provide her a life where she isn't traded like a favor." Chloe's fingers tightened around mine. Evelyn's voice dropped. "Chloe, listen carefully. Tomorrow morning, we will handle this quietly. We will tell people emotions ran high after Preston's breakdown. We will say you and Ryan made a mistake. You will come home tonight." "No," Chloe said. Her mother froze. Chloe swallowed and said it again. "No." Thomas turned toward her slowly. "Do not test today. I'm not testing you. I'm telling you. You are my daughter. I know. You remind me every time you want something." The room went still. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. "He has filled your head." Chloe shook her head. "Ryan spent years telling me to choose for myself. You spent years telling me my choices belong to the family." Thomas looked at me again. "You will leave this room without her." I stepped between him and Chloe, not touching him, not raising my voice. "No, sir. I'm leaving with my wife." His face darkened. For the first time that day, I felt completely calm. Maybe because the worst had already happened. Maybe because I had finally stopped auditioning for the approval of people who had never planned to give it. I turned to Chloe. "Do you want to stay here for one more minute?" "No." "Do you need anything from the reception?" She looked down at the dress, then at the door. "Just a way out." I nodded. "Good. I'm excellent at exits. Ask every group project I had in college." She almost smiled. Evelyn stepped in front of the door. "You are not leaving." Chloe walked up to her mother. For years I had watched Chloe shrink in front of Evelyn. Not because she was weak, because every argument had been trained out of her. That day, with my ring on her finger and half her mascara gone, she looked her mother straight in the face. "Move." Evelyn did not move. Chloe reached past her, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. I followed. Behind us, Thomas said, "You will regret this." I looked back once. Maybe. But it'll be ours to regret. We did not go back to the reception. We went through a service hallway, past 2 catering staff carrying trays. One of them, a woman about 40 with tired eyes, looked at Chloe in her wedding dress and me in my suit and said, "Honey, are you running from or to something?" Chloe answered both. The woman pointed left. Kitchen exit. No cameras. Thank you, Chloe said. The woman winked at me. Don't mess it up. I'll put that in my vows retroactively. We crossed the back parking lot with Chloe gathering the dress in both hands and me checking behind us like an idiot in a movie. My truck was wedged between two black SUVs, which felt appropriate. I opened the passenger door. Chloe looked at the rust spot near the handle. Still have this thing? Careful. She hears criticism and stalls. Chloe climbed in. Drive, Ryan. Yes, ma'am. I pulled out before anyone from the Whitmore side could reach us. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The city moved around us like nothing had happened. People got coffee. Cars waited at lights. A guy in a baseball cap walked his dog. Meanwhile, I had left a wedding with the bride, and technically the bride was now my wife. I glanced over. Chloe was staring at the ring. You okay? No, fair. She gave a wet laugh. Are you okay? She asked. No, also fair. At a red light, she turned toward me. You had the ring. I did. How long? Long enough to make me look either devoted or clinically stubborn. Ryan. 8 months. Her eyes filled it again. 8 months? I bought it after you called me from that hotel in Chicago. You were crying in the stairwell because your father introduced you to Preston as our best solution. She looked out the windshield. I remember. I was going to ask you that weekend. Then you said your mother was threatening to cut you off from everything, and I decided loving you didn't give me the right to wreck your life. She turned back. You thought letting them pick my husband was protecting me? I didn't say I was smart. I said I was an architect. We mostly draw straight lines and pretend elevators are simple. The light changed. She reached across the console and put her hand over mine for 1 second, then pulled back. Where are we going? My apartment first. Why? I have savings. You have savings in your apartment? Some cash. Emergency fund. She blinked. You keep emergency cash? I grew up with parents who fixed appliances with prayer and duct tape. Yes, I keep emergency cash. And then we get whatever you need. She shook her head. My parents will be at the house, not yet. They'll be at the venue trying to bury a wedding under fresh flowers. That sounded almost poetic. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation for drywall jokes. At my apartment, she waited by the door while I unlocked it. She had been there before, but never as my wife. That changed the air between us. I tried not to stare at her standing in the narrow entryway in a wedding dress, holding my jacket around her shoulders. Well, she said, looking around, married life is spacious. It has character. It has one chair. The second air knows what it did. She laughed, then covered her mouth. I'm sorry. For what? Laughing. Today is insane? Yes, laughing is allowed. I went to the closet, pulled down an old toolbox, and opened the false bottom. Inside was a stack of cash, my passport, and a folder with boring documents no one wants until life catches fire. Chloe stared. You really did prepare for emergencies. I was thinking job loss, medical bills, truck death. Not wife acquired during ceremonial collapse. That's what you're calling me. Only on tax forms. She sat carefully on the edge of the chair. Her face went pale. Ryan. I knelt in front of her, the ring box still in my hand because apparently my brain had not finished the ceremony. Talk to me. What if I ruined you? You didn't. My parents know people at firms, developers, donors. They can make calls. I know. You could lose your job. I know. You're saying that too calmly. I'm not calm. I'm making a list. Losing my mind is number 7. We're on number 3. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. I don't want you paying for my freedom. I stood and put the cash into a backpack. Then don't make it a purchase. Make it a partnership. She looked up at me. You always say things like that when I'm trying to panic. One of us has to stay annoying. We drove to her parents' house next. The Whitmore place sat behind a gate in a neighborhood where the lawns looked professionally intimidated. The Chloe knew the code. Her hands shook when she typed it in.
I need 10 minutes, she said. You get 7. They'll call the house. Staff. She looked at me.
You've thought this through? I started thinking the second your mother said tomorrow. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet for a place that had just lost a bride. Chloe moved quickly. like someone who had packed in her head 1,000 times. She changed out of the dress in her room, while I stood in the hallway, facing a family portrait where 12-year-old Chloe looked like she had been told smiling was a civic duty. She came out in jeans, sneakers, and a plain sweater, carrying a small suitcase and a bank envelope. "My personal account," she said. "Money from my grandmother. They never liked that I kept it separate." "Smart grandmother," she said, "always have cab fare. Your grandmother and my toolbox would have gotten along." Chloe looked toward the stairs. "Take what matters," I said. "I am." Her voice was quiet. We left before anyone arrived. At the airport, we stood under bright lights with 2 tickets to San Diego because it was the first place I saw that sounded far enough and warm enough. It wasn't some private Iceland fantasy. It was a last-minute flight, middle seats, and a vending machine dinner. Honestly, it was perfect. Chloe held her phone in one hand. "It won't stop," she said. Her screen flashed with calls. "Mom, Dad, Mom, Dad." Unknown number. "Dad." I took out mine. Same thing. My parents had called twice, my boss once. A number I didn't recognize 6 times. I looked at Chloe. "We can answer, or we can breathe first. If I hear their voices right now, I'll fold." "No, you won't." "I might." "Then we don't test it tonight." She nodded. We turned both phones off. When the plane took off, Chloe gripped the armrest. I put my hand palm up between us. She looked at it, then at me. "You're being very patient for a man who proposed in public after a corporate groom escaped. I contain multitudes. You contain bad jokes." "Also true." She took my hand. Somewhere over the dark shape of the country, she leaned her head against my shoulder. I did not move for 3 hours because I had dreamed of that wait for years, and Beguten Leg fell asleep, and I chose marriage over circulation. San Diego gave us space. We found a small hotel near the water. Not luxury, clean, quiet. The front desk clerk looked at Chloe's tired face, our rings, our single suitcase, and said, "Honeymoon?" Chloe and I looked at each other. I said, "Technically." The clerk smiled. "Long story?" Chloe answered, "You have no idea. The first few days, we acted like people who had been underwater too long. We slept late. We ate tacos at small places where nobody knew our names. We walked by the water. We talked about everything and avoided everything at the same time." At breakfast on the 3rd morning, Chloe stole a piece of bacon from my plate. "That's bold," I said. "I married you. I assumed shared assets. Not bacon. We need boundaries." She smiled for real. Not the polite Whitmore smile. Hers. "What else is not shared?" "My toothbrush. My password. My last shred of dignity. That last one left at the altar. Rude. Accurate but rude." She looked down at her coffee. "I keep replaying it." "Which part?" "All of it. Preston walking away. You coming toward me. My mother's face. That face may require permits." Chloe laughed, then grew quiet. "I should feel guilty about Preston." He looked relieved. "He did, didn't he?" Like a man who found an exit in a burning building. She pushed her cup back and ran a finger around the rim. I should have been the one to stop it. I waited. I knew it was wrong. I knew months ago. But every time I tried, my father would talk about employees, contracts, promises. My mother would talk about reputation. Then Preston would stand there looking like he wanted to be anywhere else, and I would think, maybe we're both cowards. Maybe this is just what adults do. That's not adulthood. What is? Pills on time and admitting when the plan is garbage. She looked at me. "You admit that now?" "Yes." "Say it. My plan was garbage." "No. The other thing." I knew what she meant. Still, I bought myself 1 second by taking a drink of coffee. I was scared. She nodded. "I told myself I was protecting you," I continued. "Really? I was protecting myself from hearing you say no." Chloe's eyes softened, but she didn't rescue me from the truth. "I wouldn't have said no. I know that now." "You knew it then." I looked at her. She didn't smile. "You knew," she said. "You just didn't trust that I could choose pain if it came with freedom." That one landed. I didn't answer fast because she deserved better than my usual joke. "You're right." She sat back surprised. "No defense? I'm married now. I'm told it saves time to admit when your wife is right. That is the most romantic thing you've said since the coffee maker line." I peeked early. She reached across the table and touched my wrist. Don't decide what I can survive, Ryan. I won't. I mean it. I know. That was the first real change between us after the wedding. Not the kiss, not the ring. That conversation. Chloe wasn't asking me to save her. She was asking me not to become another person who made choices over her head. So I stopped treating her like something fragile. When we had to choose where to eat, I stopped saying, whatever you want, and started saying, I want fish, you want pasta, let's negotiate like unstable diplomats. When money came up, I showed her the numbers instead of hiding the ugly parts. At the hotel desk one afternoon I said, we can stay 5 more days without doing anything stupid. After that, we need to think. Chloe took the receipt from my hand. We think now. Now? Yes, I can enjoy the ocean and math. I'm talented. We sat on the bed with my laptop between us, going through savings, rent, possible jobs, her account, my paycheck, the cost of going home. It was the least glamorous honeymoon activity ever invented. At one point, she looked at the spreadsheet and said, this cell is judging me. That cell has standards. You made a honeymoon budget. I'm a fun man. You are. In a deeply alarming way. Then she leaned over and kissed me. I did not turn that into a speech. I just shut the laptop. The physical part of our marriage unfolded slowly, even though the feelings had been waiting for years. Maybe that sounds strange after a wedding that looked like a dare. But once we were alone, we were careful with each other. A touch lasted longer than it needed to. A joke covered a pause. She would stand close to me by the bathroom sink, then step away like she had remembered the size of the choice we had made. One night, we walked back from dinner and she stopped outside the hotel room. What? I asked. She held the keycard but didn't use it. I'm scared. Of me? No. She shook her head fast. Never of you. Then what? That if this becomes real in every way and then everything falls apart, I'll have ruined the only safe thing I ever had. I took the keycard from her hand and opened the door, but I didn't go in. Then we don't rush because we're married on paper. We are married. I know. I was there. Very, very dramatic venue. She breathed out. I touched her hand. Chloe, I waited this long. I can wait for my wife to feel like she owns her own yes. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. You're making it very hard to be scared of this. Give me time. I leave socks everywhere. She stepped closer. That may be the thing that breaks us. Good to know the bar. That night, she kissed me like she had made a decision inside herself, not against anyone else, not because the world had pushed her, but because she wanted to. I kept asking without words, and she kept answering without fear. Nothing about it felt like escape after that. It felt like arrival. The last week was harder. Reality started calling even with the phones off. We checked voicemail from the hotel landline once, because grown adults cannot hide forever, even if hiding has room service. My boss had left one message. Ryan, it's Marcus. I don't know what the hell happened. But Whitmore's office called twice asking whether you were scheduled on the Meridian project. I didn't give them anything. Call me when you can. Also, if you got married, congratulations. If you got kidnapped, blink twice in an email. Chloe listened beside me with her arms crossed. I'm sorry, she said. Marcus likes drama. He'll survive. My father is trying to interfere with your work. Yes. You're not angry? I'm very angry. You don't sound it. I'm saving my energy for being useful. She looked at the phone. My mother left 12 voicemails. I don't want to hear them. Then don't. What if something happened? Something did happen. You got married and stopped answering commands. She looked at me sharply as I held up both hands. Too much? No. She sat on the edge of the bed. Too accurate. That evening we walked along the water without pretending it was just another honeymoon night. We have to go back, she said. I know. They'll be waiting. I know that too. My father will go after your job. My mother will go after your parents. She'll act concerned. She'll cry if she has to. She doesn't cry often, but when she does, people hand her weapons. Your mother sounds like a hobby no one should take up. Chloe gave me a look. I'm serious. I know. That's why it helps. We sat on a low wall facing the water. I had booked our return flight that morning. My stomach had been tight ever since. I rented a house, I said. She turned. What? Before the wedding. Ryan. It's small. 2 bedrooms. Older place near Westerville. I found it when you first told me about Preston. I told myself I was just looking. You rented a house for us. I rented a possibility. Then I paid 3 months up front because apparently Hope has a security deposit. She stared at me, and for a second I couldn't read her. Say something, I said. You were preparing, badly, secretly, with poor emotional communication. You thought I might come. I hoped you would. Her face tightened, and then I didn't. You were under pressure. I still chose fear. So did I. She looked down at her ring. I hate that you're paying for my fear. I turned toward her. Chloe, listen to me. Your parents built a cage and called it care. You found the door. I walked through it with you. That's not you ruining me. They can take everything. They can take what they control. That's not everything. She wiped under one eye. You sound very sure. I'm not. I'm choosing to be sure until the rest catches up. She looked at me for a long time. Then I choose it too. What? Use. The small house. The money problem. Your truck with emotional issues. The job risk. All of it. You're allowed to miss your old life. I might miss soft towels. I can work towards soft towels. And central air. Ambitious woman. And not being afraid when my phone rings. That one shut me up. She took my hand. I don't need the Whitmore life, she said. I need a life where no one owns my answer. We flew home 2 days later. On the plane, Chloe turned her phone on before we landed. It lit up with messages so fast the passenger across the aisle noticed. You popular? He asked. Chloe looked at the screen. Unfortunately, I turned mine on too. More voicemails. More texts. My mother had written, "Please call us, we are worried." Then Ryan, answer me. Then we are at the house. I sat up. What house? Chloe asked. The rental? How would they know? Checked another from Mark. Your father, I said. He knows someone at the property office. Chloe went very still. By the time we pulled into the driveway of that small rented house, there were 3 cars out front. My parents' old sedan. A black Whitmore SUV. Another one I didn't recognize. The house looked plain from the outside, but I had loved it the first time I saw it because it had space for a drafting table and a little back room Chloe could turn into whatever she wanted. Now it looked occupied by a committee. Chloe reached for my hand before I could open the truck door. I need to tell them myself. I know. I mean it. I know. If your parents believe them, they'll listen to me. And if they don't, I looked at the house. Then we find out who stands where. Inside, my mother stood near the kitchen with red eyes. My father was beside her, arms folded, his face hard in a way I rarely saw. Thomas sat at my small dining table like he owned it. Evelyn stood near the window, holding a tissue she had probably never needed. Ryan, my mother said, rushing toward me. Thank God. She stopped when she saw Chloe behind me. Chloe's voice was soft. Mrs. Carter, my mother looked between us. Are you all right, honey? Evelyn made a small sound. She is confused and exhausted. Chloe stepped forward. No, I'm not. Thomas stood. This has gone far enough. I put the suitcase down by the door. You broke into my rental? We were let in, Thomas said. By who? He didn't answer. My father looked at me. Ryan, Mr. Whitmore said you took Chloe after the ceremony, that you pushed her into this. I looked at my father for a long second. He was a mechanic. Practical, fair, not easily impressed. But he looked worried, and that bothered me more than Thomas ever could. I didn't take her, I said. I asked. In front of 200 people and one very stressed priest. Evelyn moved toward my mother. You have to understand, our daughter was abandoned at the altar. She was vulnerable. Ryan has always had an attachment to her. Attachment, I repeated. That's a clean word. Did you polish it in the car? Thomas pointed at me. Watch your tone. No, you're in my house. It is a rental, he said. My name is on the lease. Yours is on a bad attitude. My father's mouth twitched despite himself. Chloe walked to the center of the room. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, she said. Ryan did not pressure me. He did not trick me. He did not use anything. I invited him to the wedding because I needed one person there who knew me as more than a contract. My mother put a hand over her mouth. Chloe continued, and her voice grew steadier. I was going to marry Preston because my parents told me it was my responsibility. Preston stopped it because he didn't want to live that lie either. Ryan asked me to marry him. I said yes because I love him. I have loved him for years. My father looked at me. Is that true? Yes. How long? Since I was too young to say it well and old enough to know it was real. My mother's eyes filled again, but differently this time. Evelyn snapped, "This is exactly what we mean." She is romanticizing a reckless impulse. Chloe turned on her. No, I am describing my own life. You should try letting me do that. Thomas's face flushed. You are embarrassing yourself. Chloe shook her head. I embarrassed myself by standing at that altar ready to marry a man I didn't love because I was afraid of you. The room went quiet. My father uncrossed his arms. Thomas looked at him. Do not be fooled. Ryan cannot support her. My mother's head lifted. Support her? She asked. You told us he trapped her. He did. No, my father said slowly. Now you're saying he's poor. Those are different complaints. I almost smiled. That was my father. Give him 5 minutes and he would separate a lie by category. Evelyn turned to my mother. Your son's future is at stake. Do you want him tied to a scandal? Do you want him dragged into our family's private difficulties? My mother wiped her cheek and looked at Chloe. Did you choose this, honey? Chloe answered without looking at me. Yes. Do you feel safe with my son? Yes. Do you want to stay married to him? Yes. My mother nodded once. Then she looked at Evelyn. Then I don't understand why you're still talking. Evelyn's mouth opened. My father stepped toward Thomas. He was shorter than Thomas, broader, and wearing a work shirt because my parents had clearly driven straight over from their day. You need to leave, he said. Thomas laughed once. Excuse me? You heard me. This is none of your business. My son's house, my son's wife, my business. Thomas looked at me. You're hiding behind your parents now? I stepped beside my father. No, I'm standing with them. There's a difference. You might recognize it if you ever tried standing with Chloe instead of standing over her. Chloe came to my other side. Thomas looked at the three of us, and for the first time since I had known him, he seemed unsure what move came next. So he went for money. If you walk out of this conversation, he said to Chloe, you are finished. No inheritance, no accounts. No position in this family, no introductions, no safety net, not 1 cent. Evelyn added quieter but sharper, and do not come back when this little fantasy becomes inconvenient. Chloe stared at them. I felt her hand find mine, but she did not lean on me. She took 1 step forward. All my life, she said, you told me I was lucky, lucky for the house, lucky for the schools, lucky for the name, lucky for the future you arranged. Her mother's face tightened. Chloe kept going. I was never lucky. I was managed. Chloe, Thomas warned. No, you're done. He blinked. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking you to like my husband. I'm telling you that I choose him. I choose this house. I choose bills and work and figuring it out. I choose a life where love isn't used as leverage. Evelyn's eyes watered, but Chloe did not soften. So keep the inheritance. Keep the name if it makes you feel better. I already have what I wanted. Thomas stared at her like she had spoken a foreign language. Then he looked at me. You think you won? I shook my head. No, I think she did. My father opened the front door. Out, he said. Evelyn looked at Chloe one last time. You will miss us. Chloe's voice stayed calm. I'll miss who I hoped you could be. That was the end of it. They left with the kind of silence that makes more noise than shouting. The SUVs pulled away. My mother locked the door behind them, then turned and hugged Chloe so hard. Chloe froze for half a second before hugging her back. My mother whispered, "Welcome to the family, sweetheart." Chloe cried then. Not pretty, not controlled, real. My father cleared his throat and looked at me. You got married without telling your mother. I had a busy morning. You proposed after another man left the altar. Yes, he stared. Then he said, your grandfather would have liked that. My mother smacked his arm. Don't encourage him. I said, too late. That little rental house became our first real home. Not because it was perfect. It wasn't. The sink leaked. The bedroom closet was insulting. The heating system sounded like it had opinions. But it was ours. The first month back was not cute. My boss called me into his office the day after I returned. Marcus was in his 40s, built like a retired linebacker, with a beard that made him look less patient than he was. He shut the door. "Ryan, did you marry Thomas Whitmore's daughter in the middle of the Preston Hall wedding?" "Yes." He rubbed his forehead. I asked for a simple answer and somehow still got tired. "I can explain. I know the outline. Half the city knows the outline." Whitmore called 2 partners. My stomach tightened. And I told them, "Your personal life is not a change order." I sat back. "You're not firing me? Do you want me to?" "No." "Great. Very efficient meeting." I let out a breath. Marcus leaned forward. "But listen, you wanted larger responsibility? You get it now. People will watch for mistakes. Don't give them any." "I won't." "And Ryan?" "Yeah? Next time you plan a major life event, maybe send a calendar invite. I'll label it Possible Public Chaos." "Good. Make it recurring. You seem like the type." Chloe found work faster than I expected. Not through her parents, not through their friends. She started at a small nonprofit that helped families with housing applications. The pay was modest. The work drained her. She came home some nights quiet and worn down, but she also came home proud. One evening she dropped her bag by the door and said, "A woman hugged me today because we got her approved." I looked up from my laptop. "That good? That good. Want dinner?" "I want dinner, a shower, and for you to tell me the sink made that sound before I moved in." "The sink is expressing itself. Ryan, I'll fix it. You said that last week." I was respecting its process. She threw a dish towel at me. We had hard nights too. Sometimes Chloe would go quiet after a call from an unknown number. Sometimes she would apologize for things that were not her fault. Once, after my truck needed repairs and the estimate hit us harder than expected, she sat at the kitchen table staring at the bill. "I could call my grandmother's attorney," she said. I looked at her. She closed her eyes. "I hate that I said that. You're allowed to think about money. I don't want their money in this house. Then we don't bring it in. What if we need it? Then we sell the truck and buy bicycles. We'll be very fit and deeply annoying." She laughed, but her eyes stayed wet. "I don't want you regretting me." I sat across from her. "I regret waiting. I regret letting you walk down that aisle. I regret not telling you the truth the first time I knew it. I do not regret you." She looked at the bill again. "What if love isn't enough?" "It isn't." Her head snapped up. I nodded toward the papers. "Love doesn't pay mechanics. Love doesn't fix plumbing. Love doesn't stop your mother from mailing dramatic birthday cards." She wrote, "We are praying for your clarity." That card was a hostage note with embossed edges. Chloe laughed. I reached across the table. "Love isn't enough by itself, but it's why we sit here and make a plan instead of blaming each other." She took my hand. "Then make the plan, architect." "Yes, Mom." Years changed us in practical ways first. I worked late. Chloe worked hard. We bought cheap furniture, then better furniture. I took side projects designing small renovations for people who couldn't afford the big firms. A bakery owner, a retired teacher, a couple opening a daycare. I liked that work. It felt human. One side project became 3. 3 became a small studio. Marcus eventually told me, "You're leaving, aren't you?" "I think so." "Good. I was getting tired of pretending you weren't." "You're not mad?" "I'm mad you'll become competition with better hair." "My hair thanks you. Your hair can invoice me." When I opened Carter Design Studio, Chloe painted the office walls with me on a Saturday. We were both terrible at it. A stripe of paint ended up on her cheek. "Don't move," I said. "What? You look employed in manual labor." "It's new." She pointed the roller at me. "Mock me, and I'll paint your chair. That chair is least emotionally." She stepped closer. "You are impossible. You knew that before vows." I had limited time to review the contract. Then she kissed me in the half-painted office, and I remember thinking, this is what I was afraid I couldn't give her. Not luxury, not status, just a life that felt like ours. The studio grew, slowly, then faster. A restaurant project got attention. A local magazine wrote a piece. Then a developer who had once ignored me asked for a meeting. I took it because success is not about pride, it's about options. But I did not take every offer. I learned the difference between building something and selling your piece for a bigger invoice. Chloe moved into program leadership at the nonprofit. She became good at saying no, really good. Frighteningly good. I admired it and feared it in equal measure. "Can you review this contract?" I asked once. She skimmed the first page and said, "No." "You read 6 lines." 6 lines were enough, that's my wife. Romance and compliance form. She looked up. "You married competence." I married trouble with nice handwriting. Her parents tried to return after the studio was featured in a regional business journal. The first message came from her mother. Chloe played it while we stood in our kitchen, the one in the house we had bought after 5 years. A real house. Brick, 3 bedrooms, a small yard, a garage for my tools, and enough space that my coffee maker finally had dignity. Evelyn's voice filled the room. "Chloe, your father and I have been thinking. Time has passed. We would like to have dinner. Families should not stay divided forever." Chloe stopped the message before it ended. I asked, "What do you want?" She leaned against the counter. "I don't know. That's allowed. I don't want to go backward. Also allowed. I don't want to punish them forever. Distance isn't punishment." She looked at me. "What is it?" "Maintenance." She smiled faintly. Thomas sent an email the next day, formal, careful. No apology. A lot of lines about misunderstandings, strong emotions, public pressure, regrettable timing. Chloe read it twice. Then she wrote back, "We are willing to have limited contact if it is respectful. Ryan is my husband. Our marriage is not a topic for debate. Money, inheritance, and business access are not part of our relationship. If you can accept that, we can meet for coffee in a public place next month. If not, I wish you well." She showed it to me before sending. "Too cold?" she asked. "No, it has central air. Ryan, it's clear. Will you come with me, if you want me there?" "I do." "Then I'll be there." The coffee meeting lasted 22 minutes. Thomas looked older. Evelyn looked controlled. Chloe looked calm. I sat beside her and let her lead. Evelyn tried first. "We have missed our daughter." Chloe nodded. "I hear you." Thomas looked at me. "Your business seems to be doing well." "It is." "I suppose you proved some people wrong." "No," I said. "I built a business. Those are different things." His mouth tightened. Chloe put her cup down. "Dad, if this meeting is about measuring whether Ryan became acceptable, we're done." Thomas looked at her, then away. Evelyn said, "We just want to be part of your life." Chloe's voice stayed even. "Then you need to understand the terms. You don't get control. You don't get private access to pressure me. You don't get to insult my husband politely and call it concern." Evelyn blinked. "That's not fair." "It's accurate." I almost said something, but Chloe touched my knee under the table. Her fight, her voice. Thomas exhaled through his nose. "And if we cannot accept your terms," Chloe stood. "Then you have your answer." I stood with her. Evelyn looked at me. "You are enjoying this." "No," I said. "I enjoyed our honeymoon. I enjoyed buying our house. I enjoy my wife stealing fries from my plate after pretending she doesn't want any. This is just necessary." Chloe glanced at me. "I do not steal fries." "You absolutely do." "Not the point." "It is always the point." For 1 second, even Thomas seemed close to a smile. He killed it quickly. We left without drama. That became the pattern. Limited contact. Public places. Clear boundaries. If they pushed, Chloe ended the visit. If they respected the line, she stayed a little longer. They never became warm parents. This is real life, not a holiday commercial. Some people do not transform because love asks nicely. But Chloe transformed. She stopped checking my face every time her mother spoke. She stopped apologizing before disagreeing. She learned that quiet did not always mean danger. Sometimes quiet was just Sunday morning, coffee, and me losing a battle with a cabinet hinge. As for me, I stopped measuring my worth against rooms. I was never meant to impress. I used to think protection meant having enough money that no one could threaten us. Now I know protection also looks like answering the door, standing beside your wife, and not letting old fear make new rules. 10 years after that wedding, Chloe and I drove past the old country club on our way to dinner with friends. She looked out the window. Do you ever think about it? The wedding? The escape? I kept my eyes on the road, sometimes. What part? Your mother's face when you said move. Chloe laughed. That's your favorite? Top 5. What's number 1? I glanced at her left hand. She still wore the same ring. We could afford a bigger one now. She never wanted it. You saying yes. She turned toward the window again, but I saw her smile. We were insane, she said. Yes, you had no plan. I had a ring, a truck, and emergency cash. That's basically a government. You were scared, terrified. But you did it. I reached across the console. She took my hand. So did you. We live well now. Not loud, not flashy. Well. We have a house that feels like home. 2 cars that start without negotiation. Friends who know the real story and still ask us to tell it after dinner. And work we are proud of. Chloe has a laugh now. I have a studio with my name on the door, and employees who think I'm calmer than I am. Her parents live with the consequences of what they chose. Their company never fully recovered from the failed arrangement, and their social circle became smaller once people saw how quickly they turned family into strategy. They still send messages on holidays. Chloe answers when she wants to. Usually short. Always polite, never obedient. That is the part people miss when they hear the wild version of our story. They think the big moment was me walking to the altar. It wasn't. The big moment came later, in a rented house, when Chloe stood in front of both families and chose her own life without asking anyone to soften the cost. I only gave her a question. She gave herself the answer, and every morning since, I've tried to be the kind of man who deserved that yes. Would you have stood up at the altar if you were Ryan? Do you think Chloe was right to cut her parents off financially and emotionally?